They asked me to take a photo of the family, not knowing the house, the land, and every smile in that frame now belonged to me. My name is Abigail Turner, I'm 28, and I grew up in Raleigh, North Carolina, where I was always the help in the eyes of the wealthy Harrington family. Their eldest daughter, Lauren, was a socialite with a perfect Instagram life. Their son, Ryan, was a hedge fund hotshot. I was their nanny, raising their kids, cleaning their messes, and enduring their snide remarks. They called me just the nanny, barely worth a glance. But I wasn't just anything. I was the one their grandmother trusted most, and when her will was read, I became the one they answered to. It started last summer at the Harringtons' sprawling Raleigh estate. The family was gathered for their annual 4th of July party, caterers buzzing, champagne flowing, and me in the background, wrangling Lauren's twins and Ryan's toddler. The matriarch, Eleanor Harrington, wasn't there. She'd been in a care facility for months, battling illness. I'd visited her weekly, bringing her favorite chamomile tea, reading her old novels, and listening to her stories of building the family's real estate empire. She called me Abby, my confidant. But the family didn't know. To them, I was invisible, a hired hand. At the party, Lauren handed me her phone. "Abigail, take a family photo," she said, her tone sharp, like I was a servant. Ryan smirked, adjusting his Rolex. "Make it quick, Nanny. We've got guests." Their parents, Margaret and Paul, barely looked at me, too busy schmoozing with Raleigh's elite. I snapped the photo, their smiles perfect, the estate's manicured lawn glowing behind them. I smiled too, knowing something they didn't. Eleanor had confided in me about her will, and I was more than just a name on it. Eleanor passed away a month later, and the family's grief was more about her fortune than her loss. She'd owned 60% of Harrington Realty, a $50 million empire of properties across North Carolina. Lauren and Ryan assumed they'd inherit it all, already planning their new yachts and penthouses. Margaret and Paul talked about keeping it in the family, dismissing me as an afterthought. "Abigail's just the nanny," Lauren said at the funeral, rolling her eyes when I offered condolences. Ryan added, "She's lucky to have a job." Their words burned, but I stayed silent, waiting. I'd known for months that Eleanor had other plans. During one of our visits, she'd gripped my hand, her eyes sharp despite her frail frame. "Abby, you're the only one who sees me, not my money," she said. She'd told me she was rewriting her will, but I didn't know the details, only that she trusted me to carry her legacy. I thought maybe she'd left me a small gift, a token of gratitude. I didn't dare imagine more. But I kept records of our talks, saving voicemails where she praised my loyalty and screenshots of texts where she called me family. The will reading was scheduled at the Harringtons' estate, with their lawyer, Mr. Thompson, presiding. I wasn't invited. Nannies don't get seats at such tables, but Eleanor's assistant, Clara, called me. "She wanted you there," Clara said. "Be ready." I reached out to Clara for more details, learning the reading would be filmed for legal records, with local media invited due to the estate's prominence. Perfect. If the family tried to bury me, the truth would come out in front of cameras. I started preparing. I gathered my evidence, Eleanor's voicemails, texts, and a handwritten note she'd given me saying, "Abby, you're my heart's choice." Clara confirmed Eleanor had shared her intentions with Mr. Thompson, naming me as a key beneficiary. I didn't know the extent, but I knew it would shake the family. I also dug into Lauren and Ryan's behavior, social media posts bragging about their inheritance, emails to their parents about selling properties for quick cash. They were greedy, careless, exactly what Eleanor despised. The night before the reading, I stood in my Raleigh apartment, staring at a simple black dress I'd chosen, understated but strong. I packed a folder with my evidence just in case the family fought back. Clara texted, "Tomorrow's big. Eleanor's counting on you." My heart raced, but I was ready. The Harringtons thought I was just the nanny. Soon, they'd see I owned the frame they posed in. Hey, if you're hooked on this story, hit that subscribe button for Revenge Line. We bring you epic family drama and revenge tales every week. Comment below and tell us where you're watching from. Stay tuned because Abigail's about to rewrite the family legacy. The will reading at the Harrington estate in Raleigh, North Carolina, was a week away, and I, Abigail Turner, was in my modest apartment, piecing together a plan to ensure the truth about my role in Eleanor Harrington's legacy would come to light. The Harrington family, Lauren, Ryan, and their parents, Margaret and Paul, had dismissed me as just the nanny for years, mocking me at their 4th of July party while I snapped their perfect family photo. They thought I was invisible, a servant who changed diapers and poured coffee. They didn't know Eleanor, their grandmother, had seen me as her confidant, entrusting me with a secret that would upend their world. The lawyer's reading of her will, filmed for legal records and local media, would be my moment to step out of the shadows. I'd spent months building my evidence, knowing the Harringtons' wealth and influence could crush me if I wasn't prepared. Eleanor's voicemails, saved on my phone, were my anchor. "Abby, you're the heart of this family," she'd said in one, her voice frail but firm. "You'll carry my legacy." I had texts from her too, calling me family and praising my loyalty. A handwritten note, tucked in an old book she'd given me, read, "Abby, my heart's choice." Clara, Eleanor's assistant, had confirmed Eleanor named me in her will, but I didn't know the extent, only that it was significant. I backed up everything on a USB drive and a cloud server, just in case the family tried to dispute it. Clara was my key ally. We met at a quiet Raleigh diner, far from the Harrington social circle. "Eleanor was adamant you be at the reading," Clara said, stirring her tea. "She told Mr. Thompson you're central to her estate." I leaned forward, my voice low. "What exactly did she leave me?" Clara hesitated. "It's big, Abby. Bigger than you think, but the family won't like it." I nodded, my stomach tightening. The Harringtons, Lauren with her socialite swagger, Ryan with his hedge fund arrogance, and their parents with their old money entitlement, would fight tooth and nail to keep control of Harrington Realty, Eleanor's $50 million real estate empire. I needed more leverage, so I dug into the family's dealings. Clara slipped me internal emails from Harrington Realty, showing Lauren and Ryan plotting to sell prime properties for quick cash the moment they inherited. One email from Lauren to Ryan read, "Once we get the estate, we liquidate the beachfront lots. Who cares about Grandma's legacy?" Ryan's reply was colder. "Split it fast, before taxes eat it." Their greed was exactly what Eleanor had feared. She'd told me she wanted her properties preserved for community projects, not sold off for yachts. I saved the emails, knowing they'd be useful if the family challenged me. I also reached out to Mr. Thompson, the family lawyer, through Clara. I sent him a discreet email. "I have evidence of Eleanor's intentions for me. Please ensure I'm at the reading." He replied, "You're expected, Ms. Turner. Bring any documentation." His tone was neutral, but I sensed he knew more than he let on. Clara later confirmed Eleanor had met with him privately, revising her will to protect her vision. I didn't ask for specifics. I wanted the family to be blindsided, just as they'd blindsided me with their mockery. Back at the Harrington estate, I kept up the nanny act. Lauren called me daily, barking orders. "Abigail, pack the twins' bags for camp. Don't mess it up." Ryan stopped by once, tossing his toddler's sippy cup at me. "Handle it, Nanny," he said, smirking. Margaret and Paul barely acknowledged me, too busy planning a memorial gala for Eleanor to honor her wealth. I smiled, nodded, and quietly saved their texts. Lauren complaining about my sloppy work, Ryan joking I'd be out of a job post-inheritance. Their disdain was fuel, pushing me to refine my plan. I needed an ally at the reading, so I looped in my friend Mia, a former co-worker who'd left Harrington Realty's accounting team. Over coffee in downtown Raleigh, I showed her my evidence. "You're going nuclear," she said, her eyes wide. "What if they fight the will?" I leaned back, gripping my mug. "They can try. Eleanor's word is final, and I've got proof." Mia agreed to attend the reading, posing as my support. She also had dirt on the family, accounting discrepancies showing Ryan had siphoned company funds for consulting fees. "If they push back, use this," she said, handing me a USB with the records. I prepared a statement for the reading, short but sharp, outlining my bond with Eleanor and her trust in me. I included excerpts from her voicemails and note, framing me as her chosen heir. I practiced in my apartment, standing in front of a mirror, keeping my voice steady. I wasn't going to cry or beg. I'd be calm, undeniable, the one in control. I also researched North Carolina inheritance law. Learning wills backed by clear intent and documentation were nearly impossible to contest. Eleanor's note and Clara's testimony would seal it. The family wasn't clueless. They sensed something was off. A few days before the reading, Lauren cornered me at the estate. "Abigail, you're not expecting anything from Grandma's will, are you?" she asked, her tone sweet but venomous. I shrugged, folding the twins' laundry. "I wouldn't know, Ms. Harrington." She laughed, tossing her hair. "Good, you're just the nanny." Ryan called later, his voice cold. "Don't get any ideas, Abigail. The estate's ours." Well, I smiled into the phone, saying nothing. Their arrogance was my edge. They didn't see me coming. I also prepared for the media. The reading would be filmed, with local reporters invited due to Harrington Realty's prominence. I contacted a journalist, Sarah Wells, from the Raleigh News and Observer, sending her an anonymous tip. "The Harrington will has a surprise beneficiary. Watch closely." Sarah replied, "I'll be there. This sounds big." I wanted the world to see the family's reaction when my name was read, their perfect image crumbling on camera. The day before the reading, I stood in my apartment, staring at my black dress, simple, elegant, powerful. My folder was packed, Eleanor's note, voicemails, texts, and Mia's accounting files. I texted Clara, "Ready?" She replied, "Eleanor would be proud. Give 'em hell." I also called Mia, confirming she'd be in the crowd, ready to back me up. "They're gonna lose it," she said, laughing. I nodded, my nerves electric but steady. The Harringtons thought they'd bury me as just the nanny. Tomorrow, they'd learn I owned their world. Hey, if you're loving this revenge story, smash that subscribe button for Revenge Line. We drop epic family drama and takedowns every week. Comment below and tell us where you're watching from. Stay tuned, because Abigail's about to claim her legacy. The Harrington estate in Raleigh, North Carolina, was a monument to wealth. Marble floors, chandeliers, and a grand dining room where the family gathered for the reading of Eleanor Harrington's will. I, Abigail Turner, stood at the back, clutching a folder with evidence of my bond with Eleanor, the matriarch who'd called me her confidant. The Harringtons, Lauren, Ryan, and their parents, Margaret and Paul, had dismissed me as just the nanny for years, mocking me at their 4th of July party while I snapped their smiling family photo. They thought Eleanor's $50 million real estate empire was theirs to split. They didn't know I was in the will, or that the cameras filming for legal records and local media would capture their shock when my name was read first. Today, I'd claim the legacy they thought I didn't deserve, and the room would fall silent. Clara, Eleanor's assistant, had ensured I was invited, slipping me into the guest list despite the family's objections. My friend Mia, a former Harrington Realty accountant, stood beside me, ready to back me up with evidence of the family's financial missteps. Sarah Wells, a journalist from the Raleigh News and Observer, was in the crowd, her camera crew poised to record every moment. The Harringtons sat at the front, Lauren in a designer dress, Ryan adjusting his cufflinks, Margaret and Paul exuding old money confidence. They barely glanced at me, assuming I was there to serve drinks or tidy up. My black dress was simple but sharp, my folder packed with Eleanor's voicemails, texts, and a handwritten note naming me her heart's choice. Mr. Thompson, the family lawyer, took his place at the head of the table, his expression unreadable. The room buzzed with anticipation, local reporters scribbling notes, the camera's red light blinking. "We're here to read Eleanor Harrington's last will and testament," he began, his voice steady. Lauren leaned forward, whispering to Ryan, probably calculating their share of the estate. Paul adjusted his tie, smiling at a reporter. I stood still, my heart pounding but my face calm. Clara caught my eye, giving a subtle nod. This was it. Mr. Thompson opened the will. Eleanor's estate, including 60% of Harrington Realty, valued at $50 million, is to be distributed as follows. The room went quiet, every eye on him. To Abigail Turner, he said, pausing, I leave controlling interest in Harrington Realty, including all primary properties, the Raleigh estate, the beachfront lots, and the downtown portfolio, to be managed according to her vision for community development. The room froze. Lauren's glass slipped, spilling wine on her dress. Ryan's jaw dropped, his cufflinks forgotten. Margaret gasped, clutching Paul's arm. Paul's face turned red, his voice a hiss. The nanny? I stepped forward, my voice clear. I'm Abigail Turner, and I was more than a nanny to Eleanor. She trusted me to carry her legacy. I opened my folder, holding up her handwritten note. This is from Eleanor. Abby, my heart's choice. She wanted her properties used for affordable housing and community centers, not sold for profit. I played a voicemail on my phone, Eleanor's voice echoing, Abby, you're the only one who sees me, not my money. The reporter scribbled furiously, cameras zooming in. Lauren stood, her voice shrill. This is absurd! She's nobody! Ryan snapped. She tricked Grandma! Mr. Thompson raised a hand. Eleanor's will is legally binding, backed by her signed intent and witnessed revisions. He nodded to Clara, who spoke up. I was there when Eleanor rewrote it. She chose Abigail for her integrity. Mia stepped forward, holding up her USB. I have records of Lauren and Ryan planning to sell the estate's assets against Eleanor's wishes. She projected an email from Lauren. Liquidate the beachfront lots fast. The room gasped, the reporters buzzing. Sarah Wells's camera caught every second, the live feed streaming to Raleigh's elite. Paul tried to salvage it. There's been a misunderstanding, he said, forcing a smile. Abigail's a valued employee. I cut him off, my tone calm but cutting. You called me just the nanny, while I cared for your kids and listened to Eleanor's dreams. She knew you'd gut her legacy. I turned to the board of Harrington Realty, seated at the table. I'll honor Eleanor's vision, community projects, not penthouses. The board nodded, some clapping. A board member, Miss Carter, spoke up. Mrs. Turner, we'll follow your lead. Lauren lunged forward, her face twisted. You'll never run this company. You're nothing, Mr. Thompson intervened. Ms. Harrington, the will grants Abigail 51% ownership. She's in charge. Ryan tried next, his voice shaking. We'll contest this. I smiled, holding up my folder. Contest it. I have Eleanor's voicemails, texts, and Clara's testimony. North Carolina law favors clear intent. The reporters were eating it up, their cameras capturing Lauren's meltdown and Ryan's stunned silence. Margaret and Paul approached after, their faces pale. Abigail, let's talk privately, Margaret said, her voice trembling. I shook my head. You didn't talk to me when I was just the nanny, now you answer to me. The board confirmed my role as acting CEO, and I fired Lauren and Ryan from their advisory positions, citing their plans to violate Eleanor's wishes. The media ran wild. Raleigh Nanny inherits $50 million empire. My parents called, shocked but proud. I didn't need their approval. I'd earned my place. I moved into an office at Harrington Realty, overseeing plans for community housing. The Raleigh estate, once their pride, was now my headquarters. Lauren and Ryan faded from the social scene, their greed exposed. I stood on the estate's lawn, the same spot where I'd taken their photo, now mine. They thought I was nothing. Now I owned their world. Hey, if you loved this epic takedown, smash that subscribe button for Revenge Line. We drop the best family drama and revenge stories every week. Comment below and tell us where you're watching from. Thanks for joining us.